Morning, YouTubers. This is Jagjet with a continuing series on pathways to an aviation career and training. Both go hand in hand. Today, I'm going to use as a background a small introduction to one of the most prominently used trainers in the world of aviation, and it's the Cessna 172. This is a stock airplane, an X-Plane 11, and it is very well modeled. It's a good looking and good flying example of the 172, and we're going to use that as our training and demonstration aircraft while I walk through some of the background that's involved in getting you more acquainted with training as a pathway to an aviation career. One of the first things that you're going to do when you go and fly an aircraft is you're going to do what's called a walk around. And you're going to open the aircraft up and you're going to extend the flaps. And you're going to walk around to all the different surfaces outside the aircraft in preparation for your flight. And you want to be aware of all the things around you, making sure that you get any chocks or tie downs taken care of, any plugs that are to keep the birds out should your aircraft be parked outside. You want to make sure that you've got plenty of oil for the flight. You also want to make sure that there are no bird's nests built inside the engine compartment. These are all sort of standard things that you would look for. Examine the prop, make sure the nose wheel strut is fully inflated or properly instated as taught to you by your instructor. And one thing I do want to say is I am not an instructor, but I'm a licensed pilot, and I have been a corporate professional for about 25 years, so I've flown quite a few aircraft from single engines up through some mil-spec aircraft and corporate jets, that type of thing. So what we're going to do next, now that we've sort of gotten familiar with the outside of the aircraft and some of the things that surround it, you're going to want to go and look at your weather. And your weather can be found at a site similar to, or as this one in this case, is airnav.com. The airport we've chosen today is the KJGG, Williamsburg, Jamestown Airport in Williamsburg, Virginia. It's located close to the city, but yet in a very scenic area. AirNav's going to supply you with the information about the lats and longs, elevation of the field, which is important, 49 feet. And then there's going to be weather information, who's the controlling agency of the airport operations, pattern altitude, traffic direction, that type of thing that you need to know. No landing fee for commercial and charter aircraft. Landing fees for commercial and charter aircraft, no landing fees otherwise. The airport itself has a Unicom of 122.8, which is the way you would communicate, announce your intentions with regard to the airport before takeoff, joining the runway, taking off, and making pattern, and leaving and joining pattern instructions. Some information about VORs and other navigational aids in the vicinity, and the airport services and runway information. Today's runway is 3,204 feet, 60 feet wide. The runway 13 is right traffic, runway 31 is left traffic. So it basically keeps all the airplanes on one side of the airport away from communities that are underneath the other side of the aircraft. And then we're going to take a look over here. It also includes your civil sunset and sunrise, current date and time, and weather. And you'll need to learn how to decode the weather. It gives you the time and date. The wind direction is 020 at 4 knots, 10 miles, statute miles of visibility. Clear, which means no clouds. 26, and the dew point is 29. The altimeter is 3004. And that basically gives you enough information, and of course the airport's owner and statistics of how many airplanes and different things are there, who to contact, instrument procedures, and printed information about the instrument procedures. So again, now you're forearmed and forewarned. The most preparation that you can do before you fly an airplane will make sure that you have a safe and useful outcome. Now we're going to step inside the airplane in preparation. Now when it comes to training in an aircraft, there are quite a few ways to do that. You can go to a professional school such as Embry-Riddle and get a 4-year degree in aviation background, and it's all forms and types, and you get your flying education. What we're doing now inside the aircraft is making sure the fuel's on both, the trim is set. We're going to enrich the mixture for a start. I'm going to crack the throttle slightly, which you'll see it move there. Before I turn on the ignition, I'm going to move the magneto switch to both. I'm going to turn on the beacon, which is going to allow others to know that we're operating the aircraft when the master is turned on. And now you can sort of see that all the electric gauges, all of the cockpit gauges are off, no indications. Our compass says we're about a 40-degree heading, and that is on our directional gyro. The red flags in these instruments usually denotes the fact that they are not working and not safe for utilization. Now, we're going to set 3004 in our compass, and that's going to give us about 49 feet, which is what we have now indicated. Again, the red flag shows that. Your airspeed indicator shows the white arc on the outside is the flap range. The green arc is flaps up. Yellow is the safety range. The red radial line is do not exceed under any circumstances. Yellow is smooth air, and green is your normal operating range. Okay. Now, going back to flight training, you'll sit down with your instructor and he'll put you in the left seat from the first hour. He'll instruct you on what the rudder pedals, how to use the rudder pedals, and the difference between that and, say, a car. You steer the aircraft on the ground and also in the air with the rudder pedals. There is differential braking. If you push on the top of the rudder pedal, they're hinged in the middle. So when you're flying in the air, you want your heels flat on the floor and the toes, the ball of your feet, on the bottom of the rudder pedals to make directional controls. When you land, you want to transition to having your heels on the bottom and your ball of your foot towards the top. But do not extend these when you land, because you will have a brake that's locked. And that'll guarantee you a flat spot and a $200 replacement cost. But we're now going to turn the battery on and start the engine up. Prepare to do a couple of patterns around. The runway selected for today is going to be runway 31, which is a northwesterly heading. So we're going to taxi out there as soon as we do our start up. Now, I'm going to turn on the fuel pump momentarily, and what we'll see is, as we do that, you're going to look up here and you're going to see fuel flow. And the fuel flow is going to rise momentarily when we add throttle. And that is going to give us our prime for start. Now then, all of our good stuff is on outside. We have our beacon blinking on the tail, which lets everybody know that we're getting ready to start. You open the window on the side, look around for people, and your next call is clear prop. And now you turn the starter switch and hold it momentarily, and you see a rise in the RPM. It peaks and comes back down. And we're just going to idle it up. With the mixture, we're going to make that just a little bit off of the full mixture. We'll go back now and check our temperatures and pressures. We have oil pressure in the green. We now have indication of fuel left and right, which appears to be about the same on both sides. Our EGT is coming up, which is your exhaust gas temperature, and you have some fuel flow. And we're going to guarantee we have a little bit of outside noise. In addition to the in-cabin, we're going to use a test feature, and so that all of our lights are working, we're going to select GPS, because that's going to feed our radio avionics with the proper information. We're going to put our nav lights on now, and put our alternator on. And in some cases, you have to be in the clickable range to get there. Now, we can turn on our avionics master. This is going to give us access to navigational and radio information. Now, in as much as we're going to be operating in the pattern today, we're going to click in the middle of this, and we're going to select a particular radio, and we're going to move that number until it becomes 122, and then we're going to go to a small range inside here where you see the small arrow, and we're going to make that 22.8, which is the Unicom frequency for Williamsburg, and quite a few other airports, it turns out, which you'll learn as you get more involved in your flight training. We're sort of having a relaxed attitude this morning. We're going to bring our engine up to temperature smoothly. Now, once we've selected that, we're going to change by hitting this button, and now this goes into the active, and that's who we're going to be speaking to when we move. We're going to check to the right and left and make sure that nothing is taxiing in front of us as we go to runway 31. Now, if you look at the heading indicator, this little tip right here, this orange marker is on 310. So we're going to have to taxi to 130 down here to be on runway 310 for takeoff. All right, so I'm going to release the brakes, and we get a little bit of motion, which is not uncommon, but perhaps the engine has a little bit more power than it needs to be. And we're going to steer, in my case, with a tiller, because I have no brake pedals in my simulator. Williamsburg traffic, 127 Sierra Papa, taxi to the active, Williamsburg. And in this case, we're going to go back around and make sure we don't run into another parked airplane. And we always want to test our brakes, come to a full stop, and make sure before we go too far that they are working properly. And we're going to now follow the yellow line all the way down to the takeoff position. Richen my engine back up slightly. The reason in the real world that you basically lean the aircraft in taxiing and ground operations is because 100 low lead fuel, which is blue in color, has about 4 times the amount of lead, which is a misnomer calling it low lead. It has 4 times the amount of lead in it of the old style gasoline for cars. And this is a sort of a carryover because of the exhaust valves need lubrication from the lead in most of these aircraft. As they are replaced over time, more and more newer engines will require less lead. This is all way too advanced for what we're doing today, but I'm doing this as a stream of consciousness, which is fun for me and hopefully informative for you. The trees on the end of the runway here are not representative, and as I change to Ortho 4XP, these will be able to be excluded, and a more realistic picture will be visible as you go to approach this runway. As you'll see when we come in, we're going to disregard the trees as they don't exist and will not cause any injury to the aircraft. Now then, we're going to sort of take a look around and see what we've got to do here. All right, we're not going to use the flaps. We're not going to use the autopilot. We are, in fact, going to use the transponder, which is now on, and you see the little blip there that's telling you that it's indicating altitude, and the transponder set at 2261 in honor of a particular friend of mine whose birthday that is. Now, we have fuel flow, we have fuel sufficient for the flight, our temperature is good, our oil pressure is good, our vacuum is not in the green yet, but we'll take a look at that as we do our run-up, which is going to be done now. In the run-up, what we're going to do is add power to about 17. We've now added full parking brake, and I've taken this up to about 1700 RPM. 1800 RPM. We're going to do our mag check. Because of the nature of this beast, you'd click it twice, go back to both. Observe a small drop in both mags in the RPM. Then you exercise the mixture, which almost kills the engine. And your vacuum is now in the green. Go back to idle. We're doing a standard takeoff today. We're not going to be using the flaps. Now, one small error in X-plane is the tips of a propeller should not be painted where they're visible from the cockpit, because at night and during strobe operations in clouds they will be quite distracting. We're going to look in the distance of the runway, do a sweep outside, and see that nothing is on the final approach course, which is now verified. We'll go back inside. We, of course, would do this from the inside. And now we're going to take to the runway. Release the brakes. Williamsburg traffic 172 Sierra Papa, departing runway 31 Williamsburg. A little bit of gas. What you want to do is try and turn in such a manner that puts you on the center line for takeoff, or reasonably close there too. Line up, add the brakes, center your steering or your rudder pedals, and the throttle in to max, and now you're going to try and steer the aircraft on the center line. Watching your airspeed as it builds. Takeoff power set. Airspeed is alive. You're looking for about 55 knots. You're going to give a small amount of back pressure, and you're airborne. Now you're going to trim. In this case, I have an electric trim. Try and hold your runway heading. Continue your climb. Trim some more. Once you get to about 500 feet, you're going to start to make a turn to the left over to 220 degrees, which is a crosswind. Look out in front of you and see what's going on. We're passing over some neighborhoods. Okay, you adjust your power now. Bring it back to about 2200 RPM, and at 500 feet, start your crosswind. You'll find that the nose wants to drop a little bit as you do your crosswind. And you're going to fly out on the 220 heading, so roll out gently. do is get a hint of what traffic's around you and your position in relation to the airport. And now you're going to bring your power back some more. And you're going to hold it about 850 feet. And now you're going to turn on your downwind to 310, to 130, excuse me. That's your downwind. I've just now set my downwind course into the directional gyro. Now if you have a look-see, you can see underneath the wing there. Can't quite see much at this point. And you're going to turn back onto your 130 head. And you're flying towards the river. And now you look back and see if you can find that runway you just flew off of. Well, pretty up your altitude, about 850 feet. Get on your course. There's the airport, another strut there, a little pitot tube. And we're going to continue out a ways. So we're just about being the touchdown zone of the airport. So we're having a few looks to see. There's the Colonial Parkway down there to the left. It runs around the periphery of Jamestown, Williamsburg area. Okay, now by selecting the power as I have, you can see that we are in the flap range, so I can go ahead and put one notch of flaps and trim into it. Get a little bit of a balloon action. Now you're going to start a gentle turn back towards the runway. You're going to make your power about 1700 RPM. Continuing your slow turn, slight descent, staying in the white arc. Showing I haven't flown a 172 in a while. Go back and make sure your power's good. You're down to about, should be down to about 65 knots or so. Now you're rolling out into a heading that's going to enable you to get to the runway. And we're about 65 knots, coming up to 300 feet. Now you want to look down the runway and find a bug spot on the runway, basically through the windscreen. And you should see a on the left-hand side of the runway you should see two lights. One should be red on top and the bottom one should be white. These are your visual slope identifiers. Again, you want to push the yoke forward and trim into your speed. You can now start to add a final notch of flaps. Your gear is down when you have landing flaps. And because of the tree in front of the runway, I'm going to disregard that and I'm going to fly right through it. That would not be planted there nor in that vicinity. You try and line the airplane up with the center line as best you can. Start taking power out. This is very disconcerting, I know, to fly through a tree, but that's basically the only way to get a decent runway interface here. And then Go to your brakes slightly, steer the aircraft for the center line, release the brakes as you start to slow down, and you can come to a complete stop. At this point, you should have already announced your intentions for your landing. Retract the flaps, make sure that they follow and are indicating up. Mixture is rich. Now we're going to go to takeoff power again, the remaining runway length. And we're going to release the brakes, steer the aircraft back to the center line. Trying to hold it, airspeed line, takeoff power is set. At about 60 knots, we'll gradually pull back on the stick. Airborne. Once again, transition from the tiller to the elevator, the rudders if you need them. Retrim the aircraft to get it to climb as you so desire. And we're heading to about 500 feet. Because we're in the virtual world, there's really no need to make the radio calls. It would be, of course, good form to do so. 500 feet, make your crosswind, make your power reduction down, so that as you climb, you can scrub a little bit of airspeed to stay near the flap range, and then roll out 220, which is your crosswind. We're going to be a little bit closer in this time. You notice that all the red flags that were in the instruments before have now gone away. We're now going to be inside the parkway, retrimming to maintain our altitude. Check out our left wing, and there becomes the runway. Okay, we're basically back on our downwind. Our speed and altitude are pretty good. We're now back inside the flap range we want to maintain. And let's check for coming about just about the end of the runway. 172 Sierra Papa's turning base leg for runway 31 Williamsburg. Put in the first notch of flaps, lead into a little bit of forward pitch. The yoke, and retrim so the airplane starts a slight descent as you turn onto your base leg. To about a heading of 040, which is your base. Level the wings momentarily. Of course. And there's the runway. And put a notch of flaps and trim into it. Make a slight power reduction now. Start your descent. 400 or 500 feet. Get yourself on runway heading. So I'm going to retard the throttle, put the flaps in. 172 Sierra Papa is on final for runway 31 Williamsburg. I am bleeding off airspeed and making my alignment with the runway center line. Again, fly through that nasty tree. Get myself to about 65 knots, trimming. Wait for it to touch, and retard the throttle. Steer the aircraft with the tiller. flaps identified and retract. Williamsburg traffic, 172 Sierra Papa is clearly active, 3-1 in Williamsburg. Okay, now you're going to undo some of the things you did before. You're going to turn off your transponder and lean your mixture slightly. You're going to make sure that final notch of flaps is up. You're going to look out to see that there's no traffic in either direction before you continue. 172 Sierra Papa, Williamsburg traffic, taxiing to parking. Now as we taxi to parking, I'm going to talk a little bit more about flight training and what you can expect and learn about flight training. The process to find an instructor requires a lot of research on your behalf. You can, of course, go to a 4-year college like Emory-Riddle and get a 4-year degree in aviation management, all sorts of fields that they offer, aerodynamics, training as an engineer. But the flying part of it is, to me, the most important. Some people have a natural aptitude for flying and will benefit from better than a 10th generation pilot who learned from a guy who had 100 hours when he was trained and tried to pass it on to you. So the biggest advantage of finding a seasoned, experienced, long-term flight instructor will show itself several ways. Most importantly, he'll have ideas about what you need to do depending on your pathway in aviation if you want to be a professional pilot in terms of flying for an airline or flying in the corporate world or general aviation. Your instructor will be able to help you in a lot of ways. Okay, we're going to shut down the avionics. We're going to turn off our strobes, our taxi light. Sometimes these click spots are not very helpful. All right, now we're going to take and we're going to move the mixture all the way to lean, and that's going to kill the engine. Okay, at this point you can turn off your beacon, and the rule of thumb is mixture, mags, to off, and then master switch and alternator. At this point, the aircraft is rendered safe. You want to put your trim, as I'm doing electrically with my electric trim selector that's on the yoke, moving it back down to a normal takeoff position. As you can see, the flags have returned. Now, this was just a short primer in cold and dark startup of the 172. Which a lot of you may or may not use in training. It is by far one of the most heavily used aircraft in training. And we'll go back now and talk just momentarily about the pathways in part 2 here of careers in training in aviation. If you find a flight instructor that you like and likes you, because that's important, do everything you can to make his life easy. Take your written exams early, do the studying, and so you can show up knowing more than just sitting in the seat and learning the seat of the pants flying. That's important, but knowing the rules and regulations and what you need to do behind the yoke in preparation and in flight and after flight, and your responsibility to other pilots, and how to control the wash from your propeller on people and civilians that might be at an airport like we just landed at having lunch. You don't want to pull in front of them and do a full power run-up and take everybody in the restaurant out. So a good flight training begins with a good instructor and a good attitude and good preparation. If you start down this path, you're going to spend your money wisely and get a good education that will serve you well. And the relationship that you build with your flight instructor may be even more impressive and more valuable than the one that you have with your father. And I say that with all due respect to fathers everywhere. But someone teaches you a skill that, if it's taught poorly and executed poorly, will see you dead. It is a very important relationship, and a bond between you is unlike any other you have in your life, unless you've served in the military and been in combat situations where you depended on others for your livelihood, survival, and well-being. But if you go the route in one of the 141 schools, which is a quick way to get your license, actually it's only about 5 hours quicker. But I'm not a fan of that type of learning, so not to give them any disrespect, but most of the instructors are newly coined themselves and don't have much experience, and I've seen bad habits passed on from generation to generation, and it ends up in your flight training. And if you don't know any better, then you can't do any better. So seek out who you believe is your best chance for a good education in flight. And that's about it for today, and I'll leave you with my new saying I'm going to basically close every video out with, and that is, life goes on within you and without you. Keep the greasy side down, enjoy yourselves, enjoy X-Plane, and hopefully a career in aviation in the real world. Take care.